Welcome to a special edition of a Millwall 11 show. Those of you watching on YouTube, you already can see who our guests are. I'm going to start with my co-host for this show, which is the one and only Joe. Hello, mate. You all right?
I'm good, Mickey. How you doing? You all right?
I'm good. I'm excited as hell over this show, mate. It was your idea, and hopefully if it goes well, then it's my idea. If it goes badly, it's your idea, and that's the way it goes.
I'll take that.
Without further ado, I'm going to introduce the man. If you're watching on YouTube, he's directly below me, and then I'll allow Joe to introduce the man directly below him. We are joined today for Battle of the Ex Player 11. I'm Joe. I'm joined by Joe Dolan. Hello, fella.
How are we doing, guys? Good morning over there, evening here. Pleasure to be on the show.
Or evening, or morning, or afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this. Go on in, Joe. You introduce your team, buddy, for this game.
My guys played over 261 games for Millwall, spanning from 98 to 2005, contributing with a whole heap of goals. Old Twinkle Toes himself, Mr. Paul ifill. How you doing, Paul?
Hello, fellas. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Is it evening over there as well? Is it? What time is it there?
It's dinner time. It's dinner time. I'm going to go and get myself a Macca's or something after I finish.
I can hear your stomach rumbling, mate. Good stuff.
I didn't know we were both there 98 to 2005 as well. We both left in the same year. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Sad day for the club.
Hey, that's it, mate.
Same age as well, you two. And you're both the same age as well, aren't you, I think?
Yeah, he's a bit older, I think. You're October, aren't you?
I'm October, yeah. 43 in October.
Yeah, and I'm May.
Now Joe's got his hair back. He's saying you look older than him, look.
Do you know what's really weird is that you two are the same age, and so me and Joe were born in the same year too. When's yours, Joe?
27, aren't we?
Yeah. When's your year? When's your month?
August 75.
September 75. So he beats me by fucking a month, bastard. I look better for it, but yeah, there we go. So,
yeah, you do.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joe. Well done. My teammate is fucking
one hoodie on the way to me.
Definitely. Definitely. So this is going to be team effort. All we're going to do, we're going to introduce you to do your thing, but basically you two are making the decisions. So this is your team. You're allowed any Millwall manager within your playing career, and you're allowed any player you played with. We did have a bit of a debate about loanees and whatnot. We'll throw that out to the debate, but ideally people you played with, and obviously a Millwall manager. But if you want, you could be the manager and you could decide what team you want, but I think it will probably add more entertainment to it. And the other rules are it's a 4-2-2 formation, and that's the only rules around it. So 4-4-2, you can pick anyone you've ever played with, and obviously and a Millwall manager. So are we ready?
Manager. You never said manager. We've got manager as well.
Yeah.
How the fuck is the team going to work without a manager?
Well, I'm the player manager, obviously.
Okay. I did say if you want to be the player manager, you can be, but if you want to pick a manager, then you can pick a manager.
They've got to pick a manager.
It's a bit controversial, but not kind of. I want to mention this guy anyway.
Don't say nothing yet.
No.
Right. Without further ado, we'll be back straight after this. Right, ready, gents? Right. Welcome back. Okay, we are going to start with Joe. Joe, your goalkeeper for your all-time 11, Millwall 11, in your playing career is...
Anthony Randolph Warner.
Full name there then, yeah?
Yeah, he's just a brilliant guy. I actually spoke to him again the other day. Came to us with... obviously big club experience, but hadn't really played a lot of first team football, to be the first one to say it. And kind of, like we'd spoken about other players and their kind of attitudes to that off the field. Tony was just wanted to be part of it and made the odd rip like we all did, but owned it, and it was really refreshing. He was such a massive personality, big commanding force in the penalty area, would talk you through the game. I think one of my favourite photos is me turning around and running to him and him picking me up. So we'd obviously scored at the other end, and just a real team player and a real good mate. He's just moved to Reading. The only other goalkeeper that I think is worth a mention and I'm not sure if I don't think a lot of my games are going to be with people in the resis, but that don't matter. It still counts in my book. And I want to mention a friendly mention for Nigel Spink, because Spinky was there when we were all young lads, and he was a massive help for me, especially as a centre half. Real calming influence and helped us through a lot. And I'll quickly I know I still know this one, but we had a really good summer one year, and I was lucky enough to meet my wife that year. He's sitting behind, just making sure I tell the truth. We had a really good summer, went away to a lot of places as a team. We were getting on really well. And we came back one year, like the day before pre-season, and we were doing our usual park run around the training ground. And Richard Sadler was absolutely hanging. He was gone. He had nothing. He was paler than pale, and he's pale anyway. And the one defining moment was he got caught by Nigel Spink, who I think was 42, and Sads was 19. And Spinky just got to his ear and went, "Don't worry, Sads. I'll back off, mate. I won't go past you." And Spinky just went backwards and let Sads carry on. And he just, you're just a really class guy with a proper, first team Premier League, whatever you want to call it, career behind him. Spinky was brilliant. And obviously, other mentions I think Ifes will make about the FA Cup run and the keepers there. I'll leave that to Ife. But Tony number one and Spinky.
Right. So ex-Liverpool, Swindon, Celtic, Aberdeen, Leeds, Fulham, loads of stuff. And obviously longest stint was at Millwall. So, Joe, our keeper is Tony Warner. Are you copying us, or have you got a different one?
Yeah, I'm not going to be controversial here. Look, I think big mentions to Willie Guerre when he played, but Tony was clearly the number one. Stacky was great on loan. There's a few others that I could probably mention, but Tony was class. He was my roommate for a number of years, sort of after Joe, actually, because me and Joe were roommates for years, and then it was Tony for a while. I got him out here to the Wellington Phoenix for a season as well. I think he was playing 37 at that point. Yeah, he came out and did a year and lived next door to me, which was class. Had a lot of fun out in New Zealand with the families together, which was pretty cool. And we still stay in contact. So I think Joe has already said what needs to be said. The one thing I will add is I've never seen somebody be so excited by getting hit in the face with a football. No, in training, if you hit him in the face with a football, like if it would hit me, I'd be down for a minute. I need a bit of time. He would just be like, ah! And then you'd be like, holy shit, what is up with this guy? But he loved it. He loved it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And what a presence he was on the pitch as well, though. I mean, I always sensed that he got bored sometimes in goal. And there was a back pass, so he could just hit the ball out, could he? He had to sort of drop a shoulder and go past. And my heart would be in my mouth. We're thinking, Jesus Christ, but the fans loved it. I think he did as well in a weird sort of way.
Our heart was always in our mouth when he was taking a goal kick into the wind. For a man so big.
Hold on. The other one, there's one more I've forgotten to mention, and that was Andy Marshall. We talked about the FA Cup. Marshall's class, and he was very good on the day in the final. Obviously, Tone was our first choice keeper at the time and got injured, and Marshall came in and did a really good job. So he's another one that gets
cool. Right, so that's an easy one, Mickey. So we've got our goalkeepers locked in, both in agreement there, Tony Warner. We're now going to go into our defence, into a back four. I was going to start at left back. I think I'll start at right back.
Yeah, because we need to get it done. You'll have to put a time limit on this because we could be here for ages.
I think we should do, Joe. So without further ado, we're going to go to Paul this time. And Paul.
Okay, so the one who went on to have the best career would be in the mix is Glenn Johnson. Glenn probably didn't play enough to merit getting in the team. But was fantastic for us. And I actually remember being at the training ground when he was going back to West Ham, and he told us that he was just about to get a move to Chelsea. Wow. And Chelsea had just been taken over, and there was mad money flying around. He was like, "Yeah, I'm going for $6 million." Like, geez, that's more than the training ground and all the players are worth put together. And you're going for that fee. So that was pretty cool to sort of know him on his sort of rise up. This is going to make no sense because the best captain I ever had is now not going to get in the team.
Wow.
Which is stupid. But Matty's going to have to get in the team. Matty Lawrence. He's one of my best mates.
I'll pick the other one.
Yeah, he was my driver. He was my driver for years. Literally. He did so much for me on and off the pitch. And he was so good defensively that I didn't have to do much. And I noticed that when I got older and realised, why am I doing so much tracking back? Like, I didn't have to do it with Matty, because at times he'd deal with a winger and a fullback, leave me in a cheating position. And again, I'd be able to get all the glory. But actually, Matty had done all the work, nicking the ball and getting it to me. So it's Matty over Muscat. Yet if I had to pick a captain for this team, it would have to be Muscat. So he'd have to play somewhere. So I know I've got to put myself in the team, but I might play 2 right backs and leave me on the bench.
Was you playing in the same team with Matty when he converted to a centre back, or was you gone?
Yeah, so I could have chucked him in there, but I'll talk to you about the centre backs in a minute. Okay. So that this was difficult for me. The back.
Mate, you're only picking one centre back, so that might take you a while as well.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. So it was difficult. The midfield picks itself, in my opinion, and the front 2 picks itself.
Oh, well, steady on. Let's do the honourable mentions at right back first, mate.
We'll see.
As good as Matty was defensively, like you said, Paul, gave you the license to kind of roam and get forward and attack. Did he kind of help you in an attacking area? Did you feel that he was kind of like pushing up the field with you? Was he overlapping you? Or
no, he didn't need to. Really? He used to say to me, I won't overlap if you've got it one-on-one. If you've got it one-on-one, just beat him, and I'll be behind you. And pick up the bits if you lose it. And he gave me the license to. There was a time early in my career where I was known as a dribbler, but I didn't have the confidence to actually go and do that. And Matty kind of gave me that and said, "Look, I've got your back. If you lose it 10 times, but you get past in the 11th, don't worry about it. Just keep." And that sort of spurred me on to go, okay, he's going to look after me. And then bear in mind, he got a few assists himself. Because a lot of the time I'd lose it, it would bounce back to him, and he'd whip it in first time, and then someone like Deitch or Sads or Chopper would put it in the net. So there's plenty of assists from him as well.
Brilliant. And Joe, we'll go to you now. So for right back, who have you chosen?
Well, I reckon. I don't know. Probably we want to just do a couple of honourable mentions. Is that a fair word? I think.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yep.
Glenn, I didn't think anyone would remember Glenn, but obviously when you get told you're going for 6 million, you ain't going to forget that conversation. But again, one of my favourite photos, because photos don't add up to games, so I can pretend. The only problem is with all the photos that I'm in, there's nobody in the grandstands behind them. But one of my favourite photos, I've got Livers, Chopper, and Glenn Johnson in the background, and that was my. That was Stoke when we had redemption at Stoke. Do you remember us? And we beat them 1-0 away after being shit when we played for the first time live on telly. We were fucking rubbish. I think we got beat 3-0. I think I give a penalty away. We were just crap. And so after the injuries and stuff that I'd had, it was great to play with Wisey, having cleaned his boots at Chelsea. Glenn Johnson was just, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? It's like a winger who can defend. He was that quick and that able. So I didn't think anyone had mentioned him. But on honourable mentions, for me, I'll go back to Kenny Brown and Jared Lavin. And they were guys that were definitely on the outer and so could have been totally poisonous like some other players were in a change room at that time. But again, as a young lad coming in, both Lav and Brownie were brilliant to me and to a lot of us young lads. I've got to mention Dunny.
What about Ricky Newman?
Yeah, Numo, what a lad as well. Like
great
totally
lad,
disrespected but on so many levels by the club and to be fair, the fans sometimes considering his history. But kept coming in, kept putting it in, kept helping, put us under pressure. And that's kind of what we needed. We needed players in training that were going to get under our skin and push us. And they would be the first ones to wish you luck in their suit in the tunnel when you were going out to play and they weren't.
That's lovely.
So, we had some real, Ricky Newman. Are you putting him at right back, I fear?
I
had him as an honourable mention in midfield.
He's an honourable mention just as a guy, as well as
as a guy.
Legend.
So the other honourable mention I'm going to give to Dunny, because I think that's where Dunny started as a right back. Didn't know what he was fucking doing, still doesn't.
How old was Dunny there? Because I remember at the time,
15.
He was, yeah.
I think he was.
When you boys were playing, and I think we should mention the lounge, didn't we? I used to see Dunny, Ben May, going out with teas, like we're pushing trolleys with like teacups. Was that going to you boys? Was it? Were they making
Probably.
you tea?
I don't think we were drinking much tea at that point. No,
we were manning the bar.
But Ben May was really good mates with Glenn Johnson anyway. I think they were both from Dartford.
That's interesting.
They were really good pals. And like Ben, when he said he was coming in, Ben just said he's just such a nice guy. And then fair play to him. What a career. Unbelievable.
Who's Joe? Who you going for
Yeah,
right back?
I'm gonna go with Muzzy. I mean, I didn't play with him in the first team, but again, as a leader, I did play with him. I trained with him in the resis because he had a few injuries as well. And I think for the sake of I've gone for Matty, because Matty obviously was the right back that I played most of my football with. Yeah. Maybe a little honourable mention for Birch, but we don't want to give him too many. Maybe a little honourable mention for Birch at right back because he had to do that job
did it well,
a few
didn't
times.
Well,
yeah, he did. So I'll go Muzzy. I'll go Muzzy to rival. Thanks.
We'll lock that in.
Lock it in.
What we'll do is we're going to switch on to the other side. We'll go to left back, and then what we'll do is we're going to do two centre backs together. So when it's your choice to pick centre backs, we'll just pick two. Do it in one go, yeah. So if we start with you now, Joe.
And we're going to go a little bit easier.
Left back, yeah. Who'll be your left back?
Honourable mentions, just for pure comedy value, Jamie Stewart, because he was actually a very talented player, but was just an absolute psycho.
Yeah.
So, you just never knew what you were going to get. But again, ridiculously athletic, good in the air, smashed people. Like that was his problem. He could have got sent off in the first minute or the last, but certainly certain managers picked him on that. And Ronnie Ball, one of us, grew up, we joined obviously a bit later, Ife and I, but Ronnie was another one who had such ability, two of the best feet I've ever seen. The way he could strike a ball with both his left foot and his right foot. The only problem was he was probably in the air with both of them heading towards somebody's chest a little bit more than he was keeping them on the floor. And Ronnie would just have a head loss. He'd tell you that now. He probably still does. And that probably cost him. But he had incredible ability, could get up and down too. But even though he broke my leg and was involved in both my ruptured cruciates, my left back is still Robbie Ryan.
Right. Good choice. I'm going to lock that one in for you now, Joe. Okay, and we're going to go to Paul now. So, Paul, any honourable mentions before you mention your left back?
When I was first at the club, I remember training with the first team, and Paul Sturgis was the left back. And the boys used to call him Line Sturge because that's all the coach used to say to him. Line Sturge, you get it out of his feet and clip it down the line.
Wow.
And he was a decent lad. Another one who kind of looked after some of the younger boys as we were coming through. So honourable mention there. Honourable mention to Bully. I think Bully was class. Again, I think if he'd have had, like back in those days, we didn't know about mindset so much. There wasn't, there was nobody looking after that side of the game. You just battled on through. But he had some demons, Ronnie. He'll tell you that. And I think if he'd have had some help with that side of it, he could have gone on to bigger and better things than probably all of us. Like Joe said, that technically was sensational, but you just didn't know what you were going to quite get from him every now and again.
So the question, both of you, do you think height sort of hindered him a little bit, in his physicality?
Yes and no, but he could get up and head the ball, and he was super brave. So I don't think it was that. I think for me it was more the fact that you didn't know what you were going to get from week to week, and he was probably more naturally talented than Robbie. But Robbie was so consistent. Like, you just knew no one ran past Robbie. Robbie wasn't the quickest, wasn't the strongest, wasn't the biggest, but nobody dealt with him. Nobody could deal with him. And he just did what he was supposed to do week in, week out. And that's why every manager played him.
Yeah, nice. So
Robbie for me,
One of them, Do you remember Sturge? Sturge got released, and like a week before he got released, he bought an Audi convertible. Do you remember? he just thought, "Fuck you lot, I'm going to drive in." And I think did he go to Gillingham after that?
Yeah,
he went on. He carried on.
I think it was Gillingham, but
he had the biggest smile on his face when he came in with that Audi, because he was getting released and being treated like not great, like a lot of those older pros. And he went on and carried on playing, and forgot him. Hey, what about Greeny at right back? Ryan Green. No.
Ryan Green.
Green.
The world's prettiest man.
The world's prettiest Sturge. You reminded me of him when you said Sturge. Sturge was like an older version.
Whatever happened to him? He just sort of disappeared, didn't he, Ryan Green?
We only had him on loan, didn't we?
On loan from Wolves.
Oh, right. Never sort of saw much or heard about him afterwards.
No, I think he last seen in a sunbed salon in South.
Indeed.
Excellent. Right. So we're going to go to.
Are you making notes of these, Joe?
I am.
I'm
multitasking, Mickey. Don't worry.
I thought you meant me. Then I was going to say I am actually.
Good.
So who's next? We're going to Paul now, aren't we? So
Yeah,
Paul,
yeah.
do you want to pick one centre back, Paul, and we'll go to Joe, pick another, and then we'll do it that way, yeah? Because there's two of you there. So do you want to pick your centre back, Paul?
All right, my first one.
I would just go name your two centre backs, and then you name your two, because they might be different, and then we can create a debate from it. So
I'm ready. Okay. So first one is Joe.
No, don't be a tit, because I'm in my team. So somebody else.
I'll be in your team. That's the rules. So
then it's going to be a 0-0 draw, isn't it? Because we're just two rocks in both teams.
It's super boring.
You never know. You might be able to convince you to have someone else. You know, you might think you shit, Joe, and you want someone else. So
hang on, you just make sure this is recording, because I know what he's going to say next, and I like hearing it. So make sure.
I've said it off air. I think Joe was kind of ahead of his time. We had a lot of what I'd call stoppers back in the day. The likes of Nethers and Daichi and Tuts. Defenders first, and Joe was a bit different. He was very, very athletic for a centre back. Could run, could head it, could kick it, could drive in, and that was something we didn't do much of. But he could play, and I think that was probably from his background of being at Chelsea. So I think he just offered us something different, and I saw that coming through. And I've said it on a number of podcasts, and I don't want to blow too much smoke up his arse, but I think without the injuries, he would have gone on to do better than most of us, to be honest. And I think it was obviously a shame. We're not going to get into that and be all downhearted about that, but he had a decent enough career, but I think it would have been even better. So he definitely makes my team alongside obviously Matty to the right of him. And the other one was bloody difficult, because there's a lot of guys that played in this position, including Matty and Muskie and Nethers, who's missed out. A massive honourable mention for him. Wardy's another one, but it's Sean Dyche, and he didn't play as much as a lot of the boys, but Joe will probably say the same here. Daichi, if I'd have listened to Daichi, I'd be a multi-millionaire. He gave me so much good advice, and I thought, why is this old guy just bothering me? Just leave me alone. Let me buy my stupid car or gamble my money or whatever I'm doing, and I'll be fine. And he was, I look back now, I'm just like, you're an idiot. He literally, day after day after day, whether it was advice to me or Joe or Sads, he was giving great advice. He was leading on the pitch. He was leading off it, and he was a coach back then. He was so ahead of his time. He was always going to be a good coach. Like, to see what he's doing is not. It might surprise people. It's not surprised me at all. It was always going to happen in my eyes. And I think it'd be interesting to see what Joe says and who he's gone with. But I know that Joe was lucky that he had a lot of senior guys to be able to learn from as well on sort of both sides of the game, how to look after yourself off the pitch, how to do the sort of niggly bits on the pitch. And like you said, off air, we were talking about Nethers going up and winning the ball. Daichi was the same. Like, Daichi was an absolute warrior. So you need someone next to Joe. If Joe's going to be a bit soft, you need somebody. I'm a bit soft. I pumped him up for too long.
I'm a bit soft in all the wrong places now.
There's a tablet for that, Joe. Don't panic. Right, go on then, Joe. Your two. Who are your two centre?
All right. Well, thanks for that, Ife. I really appreciate it, and I know it's it was. I was very, very lucky to play for this club. I think I've mentioned that every time I've done anything. This is the kind of club that still does this kind of thing. I'm not sure every club does it, so I'm very, very humbled. I was very glad that even through the times of my injuries, my mum and dad would still come and watch the games. They knew I couldn't. I wanted to be as far away from football as possible. But my mum and dad did that because they knew that this club meant so much to me and to its supporters. And, everyone always asked, how I was. And that was really special. So I'm very, very grateful to ever have been part of this club. Honourable mentions. My first honourable mention has got to be Tony Witter, just for pure comedy value. I had no idea. I had no idea how that geezer did what he did. But he did this thing. He would get in the worst position. He'd get squared up and he'd do this. And he'd just let the player go past him because he was too late. He was going to foul him. But he almost laughed as he turned round because he knew he was going to catch him. He could catch pigeons. The problem was he would then make a tackle and then would give the ball away again. And it just kept going round in that kind of, it was just madness. It was
I
pure
just remember
madness.
seeing legs, Joe. I remember watching just his legs moving around. You didn't see much.
And very rarely did he give a foul away. He'd give the odd penalty, but most of the time he got it right. But obviously, you're not meant to be in those situations.
Hey,
but mate, that was...
Just quickly on him, on Tony Witter. He was the first person I had to clean his boots. So the first one I did as a young, it wasn't a pro then, it was all in YTS.
Yeah.
And
apprentice.
Yeah, apprentice. So I had to clean his boots. So I met him, first thing, blah, blah, blah. He'd be like, go and get the crowd finders. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he used to call his boots, his own boots, the crowd finders. Right? No, whatever. Like. So that's how I first met him, and we used to get on. And then he used to pay me for scoring in the youth team and the reserves.
Really?
Yeah, he used to pay me £5 a goal, and if I scored a hat trick, he'd give me £50.
Wow!
And I think that year I got like 21 goals, and he was. And I always, this is funny as well. I remember one time he had to pay me my money. He'd had to pay me £100 or whatever, and he had his pay slip, and he went, and he showed me, and it was like £10,000 for the month, right? And he went, "Ice, look at that! How am I going to pay the mortgage with only that?"
Oh my God!
It was the most money I'd ever seen on a piece of paper at that point. I was like, Jesus Christ! I was on £47.50.
Yeah. Do you remember them? Do you remember them green pay slips with the dotted thing down the side? Oh my God! Yeah. Fucking takes you back, doesn't it? So sorry, honourable mention for Wits, and then I think there's a couple of younger lads, and I kind of hope that I helped them a little bit. And I know I was still young at the time, but I do remember playing with Robbo when Robbo was a young lad. So he was a great kid, great attitude, and I think he would be the first to admit there were better technical footballers than him, but nobody who really loved the club or wanted to be in that first team and pushed himself to his limit to get in there and go on to be a captain, which is brilliant for him. Leon Court, I had a good time with Courty. Yeah. And again, I kind of helped him. I hope I did. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't know what Leon would say. He might say nothing. But I enjoyed playing with Leon. And I think that was the year that we kind of had like a national youth league, didn't we? We played like Newcastle and Doncaster and whatever, and that was brilliant. I really enjoyed playing with Courty most of the time in that. You've mentioned Wardy, you've done Daishi, we've mentioned Tuts. I think there's another honourable mention for Scott Fitzgerald. Again, Fitzy was a little bit like me in that he was a footballer. He could play. Like he wasn't really one that liked to head and he liked getting in the right position and passing it. And so a little honourable mention for him, because when we were in the team, which wasn't very often, it was a bit difficult because I was playing so much with Nevers, who wanted me to drop off, and then Fitzy kind of wanted me to be the aggressor. So, you had to kind of learn pretty quickly what you were expected to do. And I think, for me, I've got to go with Nevers because for me, Daishi was a huge part in our development and same as he gave me so much good advice. I didn't play with him that often, to be honest. But again, you train with him every day. But for me, Nevers respected me from day one. And that, as a kid, I think that's a major reason why so many of us were able to play, because we didn't get fucked off. And if we did get fucked off from a player, it was in the right way. It wasn't personal. It wasn't your shit. It was, come on. It was, if you want to be in this team, you got to do better and you got to do this. And Nevers was my number one fan and respected me and helped me and made it very clear what he wanted me to do in the team. And I think that helped me to play so many games with somebody like him in the team. So Nevers for me.
What's the understanding there between you and Nevers, Joe? Did you have a kind of a plan or a game plan how you work together and how you play together?
In those dark old days, everyone pretty much played 4-4-2. So, the majority of teams you played against would have a big man and a small man. A little bit like our team probably was at the best. There was very much a focal point and a bigger target man. Some of the target men I played against, oh my God, I still have nightmares over him now. But Nevers would kind of want to be up against that guy and kind of go, I'll deal with that. and you have to pick up the bits, which tended to be somebody like Jamie Curitan or Nicky Forster or who was the guy at Bristol Rovers Junior, Agogo, was it? And like people like that, you know, they were just rapid and you know, even who was it at Brentford? Who was that at Brentford up front? Lloyd Owusu, who's over here in Sydney now, and we still laugh about those kind of games. So that Joe was probably our kind of 9 times out of 10. He would say, "I'll take Jeff Horsfield, and you deal with Barry Hales." And it was like, or Paul Pesky-Salido. So I kind of had to read it a little bit better and go, is the centre forward dropping in front? Is he going to run in the channel? Yeah. And Nevers, you know, there would be many times where I would run past Nevers into that channel, and then I'd run past Nevers into that channel because that was where their second strike was
basically,
going.
You would never discipline in your defensive positions, because quite often you find a left centre half will play that side, right centre half will play that side, and then what you'll find is the forwards will then put themselves onto you. So I've heard Steve Morrison mention before, he's played for Millwall, that he would often single out a defender who he's going to pick on that game. And if he sees someone who's a bit small, a bit slight, if you know what, I'm going to bully that one, he'll put himself on that player. And 9 times out of 10, that player won't move out of his position. He'll stay on that position. Whereas, would you then swap with Nevers? So let's say, for example, you're playing against Jeff Horsfield, and he wants to play more on the right side. You go on your left then, and vice versa, and swap over, or would you how would you work it?
9 times out of 10, the ball was out of play so much that you could do that pretty early. The problem with somebody like Jeff Horsfield is the fucker could run as well. That was when we had problems, when Nevers had somebody who could run. Yeah. But in essence, you know, from throw-ins, from goal kicks, all of that kind of close play, you can do it early. When it comes to defending your box, then that all goes out the window. You know, we're just getting narrow and fighting fires. But essentially, you know, throw-ins, free kicks, corners, all of that you could kind of plan and prepare for. You never really wanted to get caught like that, you know, unless I was that deep, it didn't really matter. Right. But there was a lot more rigidity in those formats. You know, centre forwards didn't run all the way across the line. I'll tell you another honourable mention. I'm saying him early, but one of the guys I played against and played with eventually at Leyton Orient was Gary Alexander. He was another brilliant centre forward at being able to start on the fullback and come across and win a header and take it off your head when you feel like you've got a free run at the ball. Gary was the best that I ever played against, who would come across and glance it, and you'd think you've got a free header and you haven't. So,
and he scored the best goal at Wembley ever.
Ever. And again, a really, really nice guy, humble guy, never changed, always hardworking. I think he's managing. Is he at Cray now? Or is it? No, Neil Smith's at Cray. He might be anyway. He's still in the game because he's a good guy.
He's managing, he's a good boy, and his boy's coming up through the game as well. His boy's having a good career now as well. So
Sorry, Joe. Go back to Nevers very, very quickly. I've never known anyone who loves headering the ball as much as he did. I mean, even before the games, those of you guys remember, he spent like 5-10 minutes just headering the ball, warm up. Do you remember? Like
and he'd have the bandage on before like the game started. The game hasn't even started, and he's already got the bandage.
I'm sure it was like
the old Terry Butcher.
I'm not sure who it was. Was it Britty or something like that? He used to get the ball and just throw it up to him like about 20 times. He used to go like bang, bang.
Yeah.
I've been watching him from the sidelines thinking like this boy just loves heading the ball.
He played for us in the Wonderwall Cup when we done a charity game a couple of years ago, 2 games before the lockdown, like each year previous lockdown. And he played in one of them, and you know he's a much bigger lad than what he was, but he's still a terrifying force on that pitch, mate. A lot of them wanted to play round him, and then we played like with some celebrity bods, and they suddenly realised that he was an ex-professional when he suddenly went straight through a Riverdale star or
as a forward, you wouldn't want to play against Joe and Nevers, would you? To be fair, I mean, like I said, as you, Paul, I mean, you must have played against him in training quite often. I mean, like you say, Paul Joe had the agility, the speeds, you know, and Nevers being strong in the air. I mean, you kind of got yourself, you know, caught in a bit of a problem there, didn't you? You play against those two.
Yeah, it was like we always used to have. Back in the day, you were allowed to pick teams. I don't think you can do that anymore. It's not PC, but it would always be down to like the people that they didn't really fancy would know to pick teams. So I'd always get asked to pick a team. So the first people I'd pick are the ones that I don't want to play against.
Of course.
So I'd pick Joe, I'd pick Nevers, I'd pick Dicey, I'd pick people who are going to kick me. So not necessarily a team that might win, but a team of people that I don't want to play against.
Yeah. That's how I pick my teams as well. So yeah.
So just to confirm, Mickey, so we've got the teams all sorted for goalkeepers and defenders. We'll go very, very quickly. So, Paul, you've gone for Tony Waller in goal. You've gone for a back four of Matty Lawrence, Joe Dolan, Sean Dyche, and Robbie Ryan. Joe Boy, you've gone for Tony Waller in goal. You've gone for Kevin Muscat at right back, yourself and Nevers at centre back, Robbie Ryan at left back. Is that right?
Yeah, now this has to be back when I'm 20 because nobody can run in that back four. So let's get that.
You'd be another one for all of them, Joe, wouldn't you?
Well, I don't mind. I didn't mind that.
That's it. Right then, so that is the the back four and the keeper all sorted. And we're going to be moving on to midfields and attack next. So join us again and we'll see you shortly. Thank you.